Here is the second part of line plots in lesson 27. We're going to add with line plots and then we're going to subtract with line plots. So let's take a look at the problem here. Sophia is making a border for a quilt. So a quilt is a blanket, large blanket, making something to go around the outside. She wants to use leftover strips of fabric that are all 2 inches wide. She measures the length of each strip and records the information in the line plot. If Sophia puts all the strips together, what will be the total length? So, she has a piece here that is 12 1/8. She has a piece, well actually, how many pieces are 12 1/8? Good, 2. How many pieces are 12 1/4? 3 of them. How many pieces are 12 3/8? 1. How many pieces are 12 1/2? 2. And how many pieces are 12 3/4? 1. Okay, there are no pieces that are 12 inches. There are no pieces that are 12 5/8 inches. There are no pieces that are 12 7/8, and there are no pieces that are 13 inches. All right, so it says picture it. This shows the fabric placed next to one another to make one long strip. So basically what we're doing here, guys, let's take the fractions out of it for right now. Let's just, well, kind of can't because of the fractions or the differences. But basically what we're doing here is you have a piece that is 12 1/8, or 2 pieces, I should say. We want to know if we put both of those pieces together, what size are you going to get? How big is it going to be? Well, it's pretty easy. So we're just setting them. So there's the 2 pieces that are 12 1/8. 2 pieces are 12 1/8. How many pieces are 12 1/4? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So all they did here was stretch it out. It says you can also model it. You can break up the whole numbers and the fractions to help you add the lengths. So you could take all of your whole numbers, which are all 12, and you could add up all the 12s first, and then you could add up all the fractions. Definitely a strategy you could use. Okay. It says that you could write the fractions on the number line in eighths. So basically what you're doing there, when you're writing the fractions on the number line in eighths, we're making all of the denominators the same. So let's do that. We have 12, which is a whole number, so we don't need to change that into eighths. We have 12 1/8, that's already done for us. All right, 12 1/4, can't have that. Let's make it into eighths. How do I get from 4 to 8? Multiply by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 1 times 2 is 2. So there's my eighths. I'm going to make an eighths train. 12 2/8, 12 3. Wait a minute. 12, 12 1/8, 12 2/8, 12 3/8. I have a pretty good guess as to what this might be. Oh, not that one. That one's already eighths for me. It's hard going from the paper to my phone. How do I get from 2 to 8? Multiply by 4. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Look at this pattern. 12, 12 1/8, 12 2/8, 12 3/8, 12 4/8, 12 5/8. Any guess? I bet you guessed right. I don't even have to solve it. 12 7/8 and 13. Now it says write an expression to find the total length if Sophia puts all of the strips together. Write each fraction in eighths. So here's what we have to do. I don't like that they make us do all this flipping. 12 1/8. There's 2 of them. I'm going to recreate that line plot so that I don't have to keep flipping. 12 1/4 is 3 of them. 12 3/8 is 1. 12 1/2 is 2. And 12 3/4 is 1. All right, so an expression that could help us find the total length, we could do 12 1/8 plus 12 1/8. There's my 2 pieces there. Then I could do, so I want to stay with eighths, so all of my denominators are the same. 3 times 12 and 2 eighths, 12 and 2 eighths, 12 and 2 eighths. Okay, there's my 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I could do 12 and 3 eighths. And I need 2 12 and 4 eighths. Two of them. And I just need 1 12 and 6 eighths. There we go. Woo! Look at that expression. My goodness. It's all right. It's not as bad as it looks. It says, what is the sum of the whole numbers? Well, we could say 12 plus 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 12. Or we can do it a little bit faster. How many 12s are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 12s. How can we figure out 9 12s? Or 12 9 times. So what is the sum of our whole numbers? 108. Now, the sum of the fractions, I mean, it's a little tricky, but not hard. First of all, we know we're not going to touch the size, so we know that the denominator is going to be eighths, right? All right, let's add up our pieces. 1 and 1 makes 2, plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 8, plus 2 is, oh, wait a minute. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm multiplying, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, plus 6 is going to give me 25. All right, so it's going to give me 25 eighths. And just to be sure, I'm actually going to go back through this. 6 and 4 makes 10, 14, 17, 19, 21, 23, 24, 25. Okay. Now it says write the sum of the fractions as a mixed number. Well, there we are. Oh, goodness. I hope some of you are saying, wait a minute, 25 eighths, that doesn't work. Can't do it. So we need to change that improper fraction to a mixed number, to add into our mixed number. How many times can 8 go into 25? So I'm going to put my work to the side. We did this a couple lessons ago, but we haven't practiced it as much as I would like, I should say. Split apart that 25 eighths. 25 eighths. How many times is 8 going to 25? 8, 16, 24, 32. No, okay. So 8 goes into 25 3 times. 8 times 3 is going to give me 24. I need one more piece to get me to 25. So 3 and 1/8. So 25 eighths is the same as 3 and 1/8. 8 goes into 25 3 times, and there's one piece left over. Now, I can put my whole numbers together because this is 3 whole pieces. So my 3 and my 108 can go together, and it's going to give me 111, and then I'm left with 1/8. So what is the total length of all the strips? 111 and 1/8. Okay, how do you solve a problem about adding fractions or mixed numbers on a line plot? Talk about what we just did there. Just a sentence, doesn't need to be in huge detail. What did we do? All right, so let's try it. What is the length of all of the 12 1/2 inch strips combined? I wish I had my scrap paper. Oh, maybe I do have some scrap paper here. Yep, look at that. All right, I'm going to go on some scrap paper because I need some more room. First thing I'm going to look at is 12 1/2. Well, how many were 12 1/2? So 2 pieces were 12 1/2, and we want to know what is their length combined. So we have 12 1/2 and 12 1/2. All right, let's see what we got here. Add our whole numbers. Oh, first thing, before we even start adding or subtracting anything, we need to check our denominators. Are the denominators the same? Yes, they are. We're good to go. All right, 12 and 12 is going to give me 24. Add my pieces, not my size. 1 plus 1 is 2 halves, because that's the size we're working with. Oh, now some of you might be saying, but wait a minute, Mrs. Reed, 2 halves is the same as 1 whole, right? Well, if we take that 2 halves and we change it into 1 whole, we may put that 1 whole. So 1 whole and 0 halves. We know 0 halves is the same as nothing. So our answer is 25 inches. Okay. So now let's go back. What is the length of the 2 1/4 inch strips? So 2 1/4, or 12 1/4, sorry. Ooh, look at that. There's 3 of them. All right. 12 1/4 and 12 1/4. Now, guys, it doesn't matter if you want to use 1/4 or if you want to use 2/8, because they're exactly the same. So use what you want. All right, check my denominator. All the same. Let's start adding our whole numbers. 12 plus 12 plus 12 is going to give you 36. Now look at my fractions. Add my pieces, not my size. 1, 2, 3 fourths. Check my fraction. Looks nice. Bottom number's smaller than, or top number's smaller than the bottom. Good to go. Okay, and that's all there is to adding our line plots. So now let's go to subtracting. So subtracting is a little bit more difficult, but that's all right. We got it. All right, so this says, there are many kinds of dragonflies that are different in length. A scientist measured the lengths of different kinds of dragonflies and made a line plot to show the measurements. What is the difference between the lengths of the longest dragonfly and the shortest dragonfly? So let's look at our data first. Dragonfly lengths. We've got 3 that are this length, 3 that are this length, 2 that are this length, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and 1. Okay. So now I want to know, what is the shortest and what is the longest? Well, my shortest number that has data is going to be 3 1/4. My longest number that has data is going to be 4 7/8. Now I need to subtract the 2. So here's what they showed. The length of the longest and the length of the shortest. We know that we need subtraction to figure out that little chunk there. We could do it on a number line. Take us a while, but you could do it on a number line. Or we can do it the math way. All right, here we go. Our shortest is 3 1/4. Our longest is 4 7/8. Write an expression that can be used to solve the difference. We know that difference is subtraction. Now be careful. Make sure you always, as with subtraction, I even say with addition, always put your bigger number first. It's just a good habit to get into. So when you go to do the subtraction, you don't mix it up. Now it says, explain how you could use the number line with arrows to find the difference between the two lengths. Well, you could count how many jumps are in between. You could use that. And then but that's going to take you a really long time. The fastest way to subtract the two lengths is to find a common denominator and just subtract. So here we go. Let's do it. So we've got, we'll do it here. 4 7/8 minus 3 1/4. Check number 1. Do they have the same denominator? Oop, already. Got to do some work here. All right, I can't turn 8 into 4, but I can turn 4 into 8. So this one's going to stay the same because we want eighths, and it's already eighths. But this one's got to change. I want it in eighths. How do I get from 4 to 8? Multiply by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. 1 times 2 gives me 2. All right, now let's try it. So we have 4 7/8 minus 3 2/8. Let's do our check. If I have 4, can I give 3? Yes. If I have 7, can I give 2? Yes. I do not need to turn these into mixed numbers. 4 minus 3 is 1. 7 minus 2 is 5. And I'm working with eighths. All right. Now it says, what length are the greatest number of dragonflies? What is the difference between this length and the shortest length? That's exactly what we just did. I guess there they just wanted us to say to subtract them. But we just did that. So let's just draw an arrow. No sense in doing it twice. All right, and that takes us to the end of lesson 27.